we're going to make some bread and butter pickles, which are a nice sweet pickle that you can can in home. Welcome to Canning What You Grow. I'm Holly Bear. Today we're going to make bread and butter pickles, which is a more sweet, tangy pickle that people will use. You just eat it, put it in crudité, put it on burgers, whatever you want. So it's pretty simple. All we're doing is we're just slicing them. And what you have to do is, as you slice them, once you get a layer, you're going to add some salt. Per batch is a third a cup per salt. So you kind of have to figure out as you get them layered in the bowl what you kind of want to do. So just be smart about that. Layer your salt with your vegetables, and then you're also going to chop some onions and put that in there as well. Once you get that done, once we get this started to layer, I'll show you what happens next. Okay, so we're doing 3 layers of onions and cucumbers, and this is what the recipe calls for. It calls for a third a cup of salt per batch. So, and you want to use pickling salt, which you can find at I find it just about anywhere. So since we're doing 3 layers, I'm going to try to divide this as best as possible. So you just layer the salt, then we're going to layer more on top of there. And when we get to our final layer, I'll show you the final step. So we got our layers here, and so what we're going to do now, and we layered it with the salt, and the salt helps draws moisture out of vegetables. So that's something in the process of doing the recipes that's what it's for. So then you need to cover it with ice. So that's what we're doing. We're going to use our ice cubes, and you let this sit for an hour and a half. So if you make this recipe, you want to keep that in mind. You're going to need an hour and a half before you get to the rest of the process. So I'm going to get these covered with ice. We're just going to cover them with some loose towels, and then an hour and a half we'll be ready to go on to the next steps. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half, and as you can see, this shrunk down. Our ice didn't all melt, so we're going to just put it in a separate container and get that out of the way. But you have 2 options here. One is you can drain this, strain it in like a spaghetti strainer, or you can use this. We have this thing, and I'm just going to strain it because there's a lot of moisture down here in the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it, kind of. There we go. See all that water? And that's just not from the ice. It's been drawn out of the vegetables. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to the stove. I'm going to get these ice cubes out of here. We're going to get a brine going, and we're going to add these vegetables into the brine because right now these vegetables are pretty cold. So if we put them in a hot jar, that wouldn't be good because they could cause the jar to break or something. So let's get the brine going. Okay, so we're going to make the brine, and we have vinegar, and I'll put the recipe in the show notes for you, of course, and then sugar. Okay, we got our stove on, so we're going to stir this while it starts to cook, and then we'll add some spices. But I just don't want my sugar sticking to the bottom. All right, so then we're going to add some mustard seed. Oh, a little measuring device in there. Okay. Oh. Okay. The controller. That's okay. It's not a huge deal. It's just a good flavoring. So there's our mustard seed. Then we're going to add some turmeric. Actually, we're going to add the peppercorns. And then we just use them from our grinder. You can buy peppercorns. We just buy them and then refill the grinder. And then turmeric. Now, I often talk about how you should read your recipe first before you start canning, and this is a good example of that because we had to let the vegetables sit for an hour and a half, and you're also using spices that you might not use a lot, like mustard seed and turmeric, or even whole peppercorns, so you want to keep that in mind as well. I suppose you could use ground pepper, but the whole peppercorns I think are just a bit better look than all that pepper flakes in there. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to grab my vegetables, we're going to get into the pot. Okay, so now we brought our vegetables into the brine, and as you can see there's all this water that got drawn out of the vegetables, so that's what happens. So I'm going to stir this, and then once this comes to a boil, we can get ready to pack the jars. Alright, so now our mixture is ready to go into the jars. So I'm just going to I'm going to get a jar out here, and I'll get that going. We're doing pint jars, that's what's recommended for this. Quarts are not recommended. Okay. I turned it down a little. Alright, so we get our funnel. Okay, and then with this you want a 1/2 inch headspace. So what I would recommend is kind of straining some of the juice off as you're putting it in there, and then backfilling it with the brine. I think we're pretty close here. Maybe just there we go. Maybe just one more. There we go. Just backfill with some brine. Okay. Alright. Okay. I'm gonna just a little bit more brine. We weren't quite at a 1/2 inch. You know, I think I'm gonna take this one out. I don't like that. I don't like how it's not submerged so well. Alright. So we wiped our rim. We'll get our lid on there. And we'll get it into the canner. Okay, so we got them all in there. We still got some left, which is okay because we doubled the batch. And so it's boiling, so we're going to set our timer for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, we'll pull them out. Alright, so it's been 10 minutes. And we're going to pull these out of the canner. I'll have to get the second batch in. But there you have it. Bread and butter pickles, easy to make if you got a lot of cucumbers or you enjoy them right in your own home. I'm Holly Baird, and this has been Canning What You Grow. For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.